Olive Garden. Ben Verlander is the host of Flippin' Bats podcast, and he joins us now. Ben, how are you? Welcome in.
I'm doing great, Steve. Thanks for having me.
Listen, glad to have you here. All right, so Shohei Ohtani. Now, this is something, I don't think these questions have ever been asked in the history of Shohei Ohtani. He was 0 for the weekend against the Cardinals. That's 0 for his last 14. Are you concerned about Shohei Ohtani?
I'm not concerned about Shohei. Look, I think what we're seeing offensively, I think every year at a certain point in the year, we see Shohei go through a little bit of a rough patch offensively. It's the beginning of May. He's going to be fine. He will figure it out at the plate. And, you know, he's doing some pretty impressive things on the mound this year, which I think has everybody does at some point in the year. Do it in late April, early May, like he's doing.
So they haven't put Shohei in the lineup the last couple times that he has pitched. We've seen him pitch extremely well. Now, do you expect that to continue? And is that part of why we're seeing the best Shohei that on the pitching mound that we've seen in a while?
I do think it's going to continue, and I hope it doesn't become I hope it's not an all-year thing. Every start he's going to be out of the lineup. I do want to see him in there. I think he wants to do it. But I do think, look, Shohei came into this year saying, I want to win the Cy Young Award. And no matter how we here in the United States see Shohei, he sees himself as a pitcher. Everything he did growing up, the goal sheet that he set for himself was all around being a pitcher. All of a sudden, he goes to NPB with the Nippon Ham Fighters, and they're like, we want you to be a two-way guy, and he's great. And then he comes to the States, and he gets hurt a couple times with his arm, and he creates the 50-50 club offensively, and we have so many people here in the United States view him as a hitter first, but he views himself as a pitcher first. And he came into this year healthy and I think said, I'm going to win the Cy Young Award. And Steve, look what he's doing. So I do think we see more of when he pitches, he won't hit. I don't think it's going to be a full-time thing because I don't think that's what he wants. But I like it. I think his focus is on pitching this year, and I think we're seeing his Cy Young campaign underway.
Well, the Dodgers right now need some offense. They haven't homered in the last 6 games and only 3 home runs in the last 12, so they need his bat to get going. All right, Jason Stark recently wrote an article discussing whether or not Mason Miller is the most unhittable pitcher who ever lived. Miller had another 3 strikeouts in his save yesterday. So what do you think? Is he the most unhittable pitcher ever?
Look, I think I could sit here and answer this question, and what I would say is going back to last year, the last time he gave up a run last year, there's a stretch of 7 for 127 batters that he went on, 7 hits in those batters with 77 strikeouts. So, you know, I read the article as well, and in it talks to Trevor Hoffman and Billy Wagner, 2 of the greatest to ever do it. And I think they're your answer for you. Both of them said yes. He definitely is. Now, I think a lot of people hear the name Mason Miller and his young age and say, wait a second, what do you mean? There's all-time greats and Nolan Ryan and Bob Gibson and all of these unhittable pitchers. But I'm not talking about career dominance, nor is this question. Is he the most unhittable pitcher we've ever seen? And he's throwing 105 with nasty wipeout stuff and unprecedented strikeout numbers. I actually don't see, Steve, how that answer isn't yes. He certainly is. And if you ask some of the greatest to ever do it at the position that he plays, they will also tell you yes. So the numbers say yes, his peers say yes, and the eye test says yes.
You know, Ben, the answer for me would have been Justin Verlander, but that's just me. All right, so we've got some high payroll teams that are really struggling so far this year. The Mets, the Phillies, the Astros, Giants, Red Sox. So of this group, who has the most hope for this season? Which one has the least and which one has the most?
The most for me, I'm going to go with the Philadelphia Phillies. I think the narrative coming into this year was, okay, they're running it back another year older with this same core, and we've seen this brutal stretch, and the answer's just kind of been, see, look, it wasn't the right call to run it back. Yeah, it's technically true. They're a little bit older, but they won 96 games last year. This team is legit. To come out of the gates, they didn't have Zach Wheeler. Yohan Duran in the back end of the bullpen, one of the best closers in baseball, has been out the majority of the year. Their bullpen's not been very good without him. The offense seems to be all struggling together, and they're not going to struggle all year long. So the pitching staff with Zach Wheeler coming back and Christopher Sanchez, they're going to be good. They're going to be very good. I'm not quite worried about the Philadelphia Phillies. So my least worried, I'm going to go with the Phillies. My most worried, Steve, I'm going to go with the Giants for a couple of reasons. One, I don't think their roster is as talented as the others. And just, I liked the hiring of Tony Vitello. I think it's an exciting hire and trying something different, and I love that Buster Posey did that. But with a team that's struggling out of the gates, it's tough for a new manager in an unprecedented position, and I don't think the roster is as talented as those other teams. So I think I believe the least in the Giants figuring this out and becoming a playoff team.
Yeah, I agree with both those, by the way. And for Tony Vitello, I mean, can you imagine losing this many games at Tennessee? It just does. How do you react to it? How do you handle it? It's all new to him. No question about that. Well, Ben, thanks so much for giving us time. Great job breaking it all down for us. Look forward to talking to you again.
Of course. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
You got it. Quarters in order. I can't go with which tie I like better now, so that's going to be tough. All right, so the ball's in your court, fellas. All right, so here's what we have. The Red Sox are never not interesting. Take a look from Sean McAdams' column at Mass Live. Wilson Contreras said it probably doesn't help the lineup has a number of young players who don't have much experience with slumps. And minutes later, Marcelo Meyer is told about it and takes exception to that. To me, that's just kind of an excuse. Blame the young guys, said Meyer. All right, so we've got Wilson Contreras with an opinion about the young players, and we'll go with the young man in the group here. So what do you make of his statement there and Marcelo Meyer's response? Who's right?
I don't know who's right here. I think when I look at Contreras saying that, I think there's some validity in that. They have a young team, a lot of guys in that lineup that are young, and I really believe you can't teach experience in the big leagues. You've got to get in the fire. You've got to, and I always think this, Steve, whoever fails the best wins in the big leagues. Failure's feedback, failure's information. If you don't take it as such, you will struggle. And the biggest thing, as a big leaguer, you got to learn to play up there. And the biggest thing is how long can you come back from it? Do you struggle for 3 weeks or do you struggle for 3 days? And I believe the guys that struggle for 3 days, 4 days, those are your big leaguers. The guys that go 3 to 4 weeks because mentally they don't know how to slow the game down. They don't know how to lock it in. They haven't been there before. I think that's a real thing. So I know Meyer took some offense to it, saying it's an excuse.
Take a look at some of the best weekends across the major leagues. The Cubs swept the Diamondbacks. They've won 5.
Yeah, Joel Sherman, the newspaper man, sorry for the third-person reference. Joel Sherman, the newspaper man, would say, God, I love that. I always want guys to tell me what's really on their mind. If I'm the Red Sox, can I say to both guys, shut up? Because here's the reality. A lot of veterans are struggling also. Does Trevor Story know how to deal with failure? Because he's not handling it great. Now, he bounced back last year after a bad start, but it hasn't happened this year. And it's been some of the young players. This is like 1 to 26 problem, throw in injury, throw in a manager problem. This feels like everyone is at fault. And to start pointing fingers now, if I were the new manager of the team, I would just go up and say, everyone needs to shut up. This is all of our fault, and we better all figure out how to pull the rope in the same way to get out of this.
Yeah, I do think that this is now a leadership issue for the uniform coaches. They need to get in there. They need to get quiet down. This can't be Craig Breslow. It's got to be the staff managing this.
He's done enough already
in the clubhouse right now. You guys both got it right. You agreed, so I can't disagree with either thing you had to say there. So, all right, more likely, NL Cy Young winner, Shohei Ohtani or Mason Miller? Joel, you start.
So Ohtani wants the Cy Young, and I think he's going to go hard after the Cy Young. But at what number of innings for a starting pitcher does it become untenable? I think he's like 55th or 56th in innings right now. Like, inning for inning, he's arguably the best pitcher in the National League. But at what point is somebody going to be at 200th or 180 or 190? He's going to be at 140, and you're going to say, yeah, he's good, but what if he would have pitched 180? What would the numbers have been? Don't I have to give that? Whereas with Miller, I would say that this is the worst version of the Padres of the last 4 years. They're in it because when they should win, they do win. Because this guy's ridiculous. He struck out 32 of the 58 batters he's faced. And I think if he has a historic relief year, like if this continues, historic year, and the Padres, you could, like, no, it's not supposed to be an MVP. It's supposed to be pure pitching. But it's hard to leave the narrative out, where if you look at it and say, kind of the Padres played over their heads in part because they had this special player. I do think he will have the better chance over somebody who throws 135 innings.
Yeah. Right. I mean, Corbin Burns won the Cy Young 167 innings. Last closer, Eric Gagne, going back to 2003.
I was thinking the same thing. I was going to say, because I faced Gagne, and I remember how dominant he was with the fastball changeup combination. You look at Mason Miller, it's pretty incredible with the slider he throws now a lot of the time, of how good he is, and the punch-outs say that. The one thing I'm watching this year, and I felt it right away, is Ohtani wants the Cy. He wants that Cy Young. He's already won a few MVPs. We've shown he's 50-50. He's been so impressive. But you're starting to see he's not playing when he's pitching, right? He's not hitting when he's some of the days he's pitching. And he just looks like he's ready to go after and win that Cy Young. And when you have a guy like Shohei Ohtani that has that in his mind frame, man, I wouldn't bet against him. So as great as Mason Miller has been and as great he's going to be, I think Ohtani has a real shot at Cy Young this year.
Yeah, the one thing that I don't understand, why are we catering to a guy who wants to win an award?
Yeah.
I mean, so you're not going to have him hit on a day. Aren't you a better team when he hits than even if he's pitching? Like, why are we catering to give him a chance to win an award? Like, who cares about the award?
I would even ask this. On that team, like if Yamamoto has the year it looks like he's having and throws 185 innings, and Ohtani has the year he looks like he's having, it's 135, I know what metrically Ohtani's year will look like. But if I'm the manager or general manager of the team, I would say the more valuable year is the 185 guy who's really, really special also. I just think at some point the innings have to matter for that award.
Yeah, right. And by the way, Robleski right now, the Dodger pitcher, might be the Cy Young Award winner the way he's doing so far. You guys both got that one wrong. All right. We got to do something. Clayton McCullough ejected
We are doing
Friday.
something. Them were worried. They said the minor league numbers show that if you run out of challenges, that something subconsciously happens with the umpires where they know the other team could still challenge them, that they'll side on against the one that has none left. So you do wonder if there's something to whatever. On the other hand, don't run out. Because otherwise I would say you don't have the right to challenge. For the first time in the history of Major League Baseball, you have a mechanism to deal with this. It is your job not to run out of the mechanism.
Yeah. As a player, too, it's your job to control the argument. Right? I think when you look at Kyle Stowers, it got a little too, oh, come on. And then a couple words were said. And then I believe that was Mark Wagner behind the dish and, ended up throwing him out, a veteran umpire. So I think it's not so much that you're arguing balls and strikes because you are a human being still. Even if you have no challenges, you might want to get a say in, but there is a way to argue, and I think it was just too much.
If you run out of a timeout in a sport like basketball or football that has timeouts, you can't start yelling at the referee, I need another timeout.
You know what? You lose this one because you went right to my University of Michigan history.
I'm going to Chris Webber
timeouts when we
I'm
don't
going to
have
Chris
timeouts.
Webber
That's a loss for you. All right, Gary Cohen, Mets broadcaster, had quite the call yesterday on a Carson Benz catch. Take a listen.
Do you know what that means, Joel?
Yes, I did know what it means, but I think the way the word is often used is for someone who's like a ballet dancer or a model on a runway, because it has elegance to it. I didn't think that was about elegance. I thought that was about athleticism more than anything.
How did you feel about it?
I thought it was too big a word for baseball.
I was like, God bless you when he said it. What was that? All right, this is the deciding factor here. What word would you use to describe an extraordinary catch?
Oh, phenomenal. How about that?
We've got a writer here. This is going to be tough.
No, I'm going to fail at this because I think you just described the catch. I would have described the catch and said, that's a splendid catch because.
Splendid, phenomenal, disappointing. All right, we